Blood and gore, you don't say? Violence.
ESRB, Electronic Software Ratings Bureau. Wait, is it Bureau? I don't know. Is it Bureau? Board. Okay.
The fact that you say bureau, it makes it sound like the SRB fucking comes to your house if you fucking violate the rating.
Like with a suit and tie and black sunglasses. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Timmy, you're gonna have to come with me. Oh, but why?
You lied to your mother.
Yeah.
You said that in Grand Theft Auto 5 you could turn off the nudity and language. That was a lie.
Yeah, and I know what you're holding over, fucking Johnny Retail over at that store that shall not be named. And Johnny Retail doesn't appreciate you blackmailing him and his fucking oath that he made to the credo of retail salesmanship when fucking holding him over and his mom into buying you some shit game that you can just swear and fucking become a living allegory of everything that fucking game parodies. You're a piece of shit, Timmy. And this is Mortal Kombat Arcade Collection. Welcome, folks.
The reason why the ESRB exists.
You're absolutely correct, actually.
Yeah.
And Senator
Full
Joe
circle.
Lieberman.
Mm-hmm.
Full circle, man. What a segue. But yeah, so Mortal Kombat Arcade Collection, I think I don't know. I personally really enjoyed what they did with it, but it's also a response to one of yours and mine favorite Xbox Live Arcade releases. That I still don't understand why, but I think it was maybe in part due to like the liquidation of Midway and like the fate of the Mortal Kombat franchise. But Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 was pulled off of Xbox Live Arcade for any new purchases. And if you already bought it, you were able to get it. I still don't even know if you can boot that game up. Like that's
I haven't tried in such a long time. It's kind of the same thing that happened with the Disney stuff, like when they pulled a lot of the Marvel vs. Capcom re-releases. And I guess unfortunately that kind of leaves to be said. Like I haven't gone back and tried booting it up since, so it's like, well, maybe it was good they made a collection, just something to have instead of trying to play the other games that were released beforehand. So, man,
and there we go.
Classic.
Yeah, that right there is probably the most brutal fatality in this entire game.
I don't know. I'd argue Kano's Heart Rip. Personally, I always thought was probably the gnarliest one.
Yeah, but man, can we talk about how well this is aged?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was like eventually you're gonna blow a raspberry. But yeah, no, I appreciate it though. Like I think going back to the mocap stuff or the what do they call it? FMV?
It was digitalization or digital graphics, like something of that nature, film digitalization.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, even then, like some of it, like that Buddha statue in the background, which looks like it was ripped from like a fucking Home and Gardens catalog. Yeah, some of it is pretty impressive by like some standards, but then like, it was weird too because I feel like there was a cage fight. Like, all right, the person who actually played Johnny Cage was a real life martial artist, and he was actually there was supposed to be a spin-off of Johnny Cage into his own like cage fighting game, and something like didn't pan through with that, and I guess that eventually turned into Pit Fighter. And and Pit Fighter like basically was trying to capitalize on the success of like the digitalization of graphics for a fighting game, and as we all know, Pit Fighter fucking stunk a big kablooey.
And funny thing is, then the guy that played Johnny Cage got taken to another game for more money, and it was Bloodstorm, I believe, and it never got released. So he pretty much like severed all ties with Midway and MK after the first one, which is kind of a bummer because obviously MK went on to be huge, and he was stuck with a game that never got released.
And Pit Fighter. And
yeah. Was there a character in this that eventually went on to do WMAC Masters, or am I just thinking of something else completely different?
I that sounds familiar what you're talking about, but yeah. So and just the fucking bullshit with Mortal Kombat, I always found it funny just because like it took away all the legitimacy of like the shitty moves that nobody did, like the low high kick, the tiny like yeah. And of course, you know, it's funny, we didn't talk about this in Mortal Kombat X. I fucking hate
Oh my
fights.
god, I do. Fuck it, man. It's so dumb.
So dumb.
I don't know how hard it is to do on a one controller. Me trying to do it on a PS4 controller fucking sucks.
Dumb.
It's so bad. I'm like holding it to my face and pushing the buttons like I'm playing a fucking clarinet, and then I use my fucking face to hit the trigger. It's the stupidest thing, man. I swear to God.
Yeah, I think I actually rubbed the controllers and created such a friction that I had like rug burn on my thumbs. What? Like?
Yeah, you burn the X, Y, B, and A off the buttons.
Well, no. All right, so here we go. Here's a little shifty bullshit for you. Anybody familiar with Mario Party? Fucking for the Nintendo 64 Nintendo Power? I still have that goddamn
joystick,
glove.
yeah.
I still have
That's
that goddamn glove, and I used it.
Not bad, yeah.
It's not, but it sucks. It still sucks.
We shouldn't have to go to those kind of extremes, man. Shouldn't have to be like this.
No, and like,
and that's the thing. If you try doing it in certain challenges, like the War Towers, you can't skip it. Nope. I think if they're gonna give us easy fatalities and skippable fights, I would gladly play and go through the crypt to get icons to skip. Fucking test your might, gladly. Like in a heartbeat, I'd do that.
And there we go, and there goes the end.
Look at Cage, getting you.
Oh man, and funny. So hey, we're out, but I always that's the one thing I always appreciated from.
You should get on that board and change those dip switches, man. Get to easier difficulties.
Hey,
that's what they should have in this collection. They should have like where you can change the dip switches and stuff like that. Just make it the like ultimate arcade experience.
Like, I believe in Mortal Kombat 2, there's actual, like, I don't know if there's a dip switch, but I know there's a debug menu where you can literally just change the frequency of, like, Smoke's and Jade's appearances to, like, every goddamn match.
That's amazing.
It kind of loses its luster. Like, it's like Christmas. It's special when it barely comes around for a reason. But yeah, so... Looking at the improvement here, everybody considers this like the fucking messiah of traditional Mortal Kombat.
I will agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. I like 3, but I think 3 is cheap. I think 2 is like it's the definitive MK experience. Maybe really? Until 10. I think so.
I disagree. I like 2, but I think it's aged just as badly as 1.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Yeah, it doesn't look great, but like I feel like it did everything. Like, this is like when it really capitalized on the momentum and the popularity. Like, this is when you couldn't even like get away from Mortal Kombat. You know what I mean? Like, this is when it got huge. But I'm saying that just as more of like a fan of the fact that like this is the cab I have as an MK2 cab. So maybe I'm being a little partial to that. But
or you're a Kung Lao player, because I think all those people.
I personally wasn't, but yeah, I could definitely see that. Or Baraka.
Yeah, just you want to talk about cheap? Like nothing in Mortal Kombat 3 is cheap. It was like fucking Kung Lao and Baraka in those games, and this is back in the day and age when. You didn't have. See that's squirming, and how many bones?
All the bones. How many rib cages?
Yeah. So I will say this, and like it's weird because I love it and hate it, but we were talking about like the brutality complexity in Mortal Kombat X, and you're my fucking mortal enemy, Johnny Cage, this son of a bitch. It's weird, like. I'll probably make that reference later, but anyway, you're talking about the complexity of like the brutality inputs, and I think this is the only game in the Mortal Kombat lineage where they had 2-part fatalities, where you had to input a sequence of one input, and you would do half of the fatality, and then you had to do the other half in order to fully do it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? I never really like dug them.
No, I don't think I ever pulled them off. To be honest with you, I think it was a little too complex for me. I feel if I can remember, there's none I can actually think of that I actually pulled off. Like I think I probably tried it a dozen times and then just said, well, I'm not doing that ever.
Sub-Zero's is like the only one that I can do. Sub-Zero's, and then Raiden. We want to talk about test your might bullshit. Raiden will give you carpal tunnel.
The button presses, yeah. What is it about Cage, man?
Yeah, I know. I can't put one over on Cage, but I'm gonna try. Maybe I just got like I've got a real soft spot for him from the movie. But anyway, like, yeah. So I would have to say too that, like, if anything, what Mortal Kombat 2 did as far as not only up the violence and the flair of it, I think it upped the macabre factor. Like, especially in Mortal Kombat 2, you'll never see anything quite as dreary or fucking, I don't know, just unsettling. Like, I don't know. I remember, you know, in my youth when, like, there were certain church groups that actually talked about, like, Mortal Kombat 2 and ask kids, like, have you played this game? Like, have you done this? Do you know that it's, like, some sort of, I don't know, but, like, I don't know if they mentioned it was a movement, but it was some sort of sin against their various entity or prophet, and that's when I realized, like, man, like, that's when video games kind of hit a pinnacle, and then from that juncture you see, like, Simpsons parodies, and then Mortal Kombat becomes, like, a fucking icon.
Like I said, man, it got huge after this, absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean that floating druid in what looks like fucking, like the day of end times in the background of those clouds.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. Like, are they like on a thing that's like in the sky then? Are they like on a floating city?
Yeah, they're on a sky tower, according to the name of the stage.
Are they in this? Are they in like Cloud City? Is Lando gonna show up here soon?
I mean, I can only fucking hope.
I wish, man. That should be a secret character. Like, he pulls off the robe and it's Lando. Lando Collection. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I remember Deadwoods being, like, really creepy in this game because you always heard those things about, like, yeah, you know, someone pops out from behind the tree, and if you do this input, you know, they show up in the you know, you fight against them and stuff like that. Like, all that kind of stuff started happening with 1, but I think in, like, 2, when you actually started seeing it happen, that was the crazy thing. Like, when, you know, random things would show up in the background, you had to, like, input something for it to come out. Just crazy stuff like that.
But fucking, what was I gonna say too? And yeah, I think that's when also Mortal Kombat 2 really, between Mortal Kombat 2, the popularity of Street Fighter, and then EGM and other just like
Shay Long stuff.
Yeah, just that's when, like, the whole, like, secret minutia of like fucking games, like, almost made the game more interesting than, like, the stuff that was there. And if anything too, I think it did something that, like, not a lot of video games did, even Nintendo at the time. It put a lot of emphasis on the development team and the people behind the game, where people really, and then, like, you kind of saw that door open up to, like, Doom and fucking John.
Yeah, it was definitely a midway thing, though. You know what I mean? Like, with all their iterations, the arcade games they released, like this and NBA Jam and Blitz, like, it was definitely like a MK or a midway, like, mainstay. Maybe something I think they don't really take advantage of now, which is kind of a bummer. Not through another realm.
Well, yeah, well, because it's the internet. Like, all that, I don't know, all that mysticism and allure and secrecy wouldn't last, like, a fucking day if you could find it, like, on a Reddit thread somewhere.
It's true. Yeah, you're definitely right.
Yeah, that baiting. You see that baiting?
I saw it, man. I saw what you're doing. Zoning.
Dude, the AI, I think that's another thing, too. I think the AI is pretty fucked in Mortal Kombat 2, like, in a sense. But you know what? I can't be balls without mentioning that fucking the AI in Mortal Kombat 3 is super fucked.
Yeah. Fuck the run button, man. That's the worst thing that could ever happen to this series was the goddamn run button.
I love the run button.
Sub-Zero or Smoke running in, just fucking your shit up. Just not even giving you time to breathe. That's why I hate him most.
Jade's run move is the worst.
Yeah, but I'm serious, man. Anyone that plays Smoke and MK3 can fuck off. No joke, man.
But yeah, I think if anything, another introduction in Mortal Kombat 2 that is probably my least favorite and was downplayed is the ability to do your projectiles in the air. And man, do some characters really, especially the AI, and like some of the sequencing that they do is inhumanly incapable. Like there's no way that, like, even like from a human opponent would they be able to twitch and react that way. So that's, and I understand that that's part of the arcade challenge, but like
which you don't see that now because of the fact that you're not trying to, like, you know, trying to get quarters off people. You know, doesn't have that difficulty ramp up anymore.
Yeah, it was almost like, you know, And it's funny, you mentioned how you hate how games kind of force you in a corner and feel like, oh, I have to exploit the game to beat the game. And Mortal Kombat 2 definitely gets on you with that, especially with the throw counter after the sweep. But anyway, that's enough of Mortal Kombat 2. Let's go ahead and go to my favorite. I don't know why Andrew has such a reluctance to embrace, like...
No, don't get me wrong, I like MK3. I do. It's just... I just remember that was the first MK game I remember playing pretty actively against other people, because I think that hit consoles, you know, a lot. I guess it wasn't considered an arcade game anymore. It was considered a console game, you know? Like, not a lot of people were rocking this in the arcade anymore. This is when you kind of saw that transition of arcade to home, where this was definitely more of the home experience and not so much in the arcade. So I feel like that's when I started playing it a lot more against other people, and I knew they were fucking with me. You know, this is the first time I started. This is like when my saltiness kind of started actually beginning, was when I started playing MK3 against people. Just, it takes me back to a dark place that every time I think about it.
And it's weird. We talk about Dan Forden.
Oh, Steve.
So yeah, this is
That's
I'm combo crazy. Yeah.
God damn, I hate that combo. I really do.
But I'm combo. See, I love combos, which is, like I said, I've talked about my love for Killer Instinct. But anything that you can give me that can give me a sequence of buttons and really do a fucking combo with a K, man, I'll rock that shit. Like, so fun, so good, and it like adds this layer too to where you really gotta do shit. Now that fatality, I think if anything, that's my least favorite part about MK3 is that like your window of opportunity to input buttons for a fatality is ridiculously small.
Oh.
Like,
was 3 the first one where you had to hold block to do a lot of their specific fatalities, like anything that required like pushing up?
No, it was 1.
Was it really? I don't recall.
In fact, like you saw me use Scorpion in Mortal Kombat 2 doing the toasty. That's holding block, doing up twice, and then low punch. And then
gotcha.
In Mortal Kombat 1, it's up. It's just up twice with no button press. And like the weirdness about that whole thing is and like these are the little nuances with Mortal Kombat, is that block isn't actually a part of the fatality sequence.
No, and they don't tell you that. They don't tell you to do that to, like, you know, to actually to do the fatality. You know what I mean? Like, they don't tell you should hold block to do this. You just have to kind of know it.
Yeah, you have to mess around with it and realize that like there are certain frames of animation where like inputs will register versus when they won't. But yeah, like Sub-Zero's like fucking ice block freeze in like torso rip. That requires like a sequence of 7 button inputs between run and block. You mess up one of those inputs, and as you saw in the last fight, like your fucking victim will follow for him like, you fucked up, fuck you, you don't get to kill him now.
Sorry,
and like,
man. Yeah, should be better.
Yeah, and then the animality, as I mentioned, you have to grant a mercy, which again, it's not practical. It's not even fun, and God, the animalities are ugly. They kind of look like fucking light bright neon Crayola interpretations of animals, which got really weird in Mortal Kombat Trilogy, because then they're just like, oh man, fuck this. You know, we don't want to do. We want to make them look like real animals, but they didn't go back and redo the original MK3 roster, so it all just looked really disjointed and fucking weird. Like, for example, Scorpion was introduced in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 after fan outrage that like see, I fucked it up again. It's so goddamn hard. That he wasn't included the first go around, which is weird. That's the only MK game that he's not in, is the original Mortal Kombat 3.
Yep.
And then the one character that's been in every Mortal Kombat is one I'm rocking, which is Sub-Zero.
Sub-Zero, yep.
But yeah, it's really weird how those two have become like the de facto trademark to Mortal Kombat, even though they're not the technical protagonists in any way to Mortal Kombat. It's Robin Cho from, you know, such wonderful films as Mortal Kombat and Beverly Hills Ninja, and I can't really think of.
I think that's about it.
I think that's about it. Yeah, Robin Cho. Mm-hmm. But anyway, yeah, fucking, I don't know. I find it just weird that yeah, God, she's the worst character in this.
Jade. I think it's why they didn't put her next, honestly. They just gave all of her moves to other female ninjas.
Well, no, didn't they? They gave one of her styles.
Katana.
Katana, and yeah, it's the mournful style, which I found was rad. But yeah, she's
A lot of her stuff feels like with Tanya now. A lot of her stuff is kind of like Jade too. I think so, at least in a sense.
yeah. Tanya was always that weird character in Mortal Kombat 4. Which, by the way, so have you checked out Mortal Kombat 4 or Gold at all?
No.
Wow. All right, we got to definitely do a play of that. I don't know. I found
3D Mortal Kombat. Bah.
it's okay. So it's really not. It's just still 2D, just like with like that sidestep. That's all it is. It's sidestepping, and then you can like roundhouse kick somebody into an alternative plane, and
to me it just gets too much like Tekken and other kinds of fighters, man.
Right,
It's not 2D. Oh,
shut the fuck.
all right, sorry.
I got into
Ultimate Combat Code. All right, do it real quick.
Dude, fucking,
Do something cool.
all right.
Ah, damn it.
I suck at life. Anyway,
Yeah, it's okay.
well,
Is
That was-
AAMA still around? Can we contact them?
I don't know, man. But yeah, that was the Mortal Kombat Arcade Collection. You guys can find that on essentially any digital platform at this point. And yeah, I recommend highly that you guys go check that out if you guys want to kind of get a feel for what led up to Mortal Kombat X. Until then, good fight, good night.
Yeah.
I don't think MTV will come after us. We should be okay.
Okay, good.
This latest Play video from Press Pause Radio was brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/presspauseradio, and you can get access to over 100,000 titles to choose from your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.